It's okay. Look at the rosary on my chest. If I were to take this off, I would change. I'd turn into my true form, a powerful and terrifying vampire. So...
A real vampire?
Hello and welcome to Atop the Fourth Wall, where bad comics burn. No, I'm just kidding. Hey guys, what's up? It's BigJackFilms here, and welcome to the first episode of the Rosario Vampire vlogs. I hope you like the setup, because we're in our new apartment, and throughout the month of September, all the way to the end of October, I will be reviewing the entire first season, not episode by episode, but this one will definitely be the first episode, and then onwards it'll be about 2 episodes or 3 episodes each, depending on how I'm feeling. So, the first episode of Rosario Vampire, I guess I should just first start off in saying what my background with the show is, much like I did with my Inuyasha vlogs. The first thing I saw, well actually, the first thing I saw was a trailer for the DVDs that Funimation had put out, which by the way, I am reviewing the Funimation dub, I'm not doing the Japanese version. Now, I was introduced to the show by my buddy Thomas, who voices Gavlor and a bunch of other characters on my show. He is known as Herald of Vortis on YouTube. I'll put a link to his channel down below so you guys can go check him out. But I had been introduced to the show through him because I didn't know what the hell it was. And he said, have you ever heard of this show called Rosario Vampire? And I'm like, no, what the fuck is that? Now, granted, at the time, I was not really that big into vampires. I think it was before I really saw fully the original Dracula. It was, I knew of Dracula, I knew of Twilight, obviously, I knew of Castlevania, the games, that is, because I have played them, but I never heard of this show. So he shows me the trailer, and there's a lot that's not really accurate to the manga. Now, I have heard the manga, I haven't read the manga, but I do know it's way darker, more serious. This is a comedy. This is like basically what they did with Austin Powers. Take James Bond, a serious missionary sort of, you know, spy series, and make it a comedy. So this is basically a horror comedy, a horror sex comedy, if you will, in terms of genre. Totally a huge departure from the manga, from what I heard. But I decided, you know what, I'll check it out. And thankfully, they were all on YouTube, which I believe they still are. It's weird with some animes. You can find full episodes on YouTube, yet some of them you'd have to get the Blu-rays for, which I would recommend buying the Blu-rays for the show, because it's pretty solid. So, the first episode, we open with a panty shot. Yep, that sets up the mood. It's funny with this show because the one thing that will really get annoying is the fan service, which I know people think, but fan service is amazing, and all these great shots. I'm like, yeah, but they distract the story, and I'll get to that in a sec. So, it opens with Tsukune Ono, who is voiced by the really talented Todd Haberkorn of Funimation. He was also in Shin Godzilla, and he was in a couple other dubs and stuff. I think he's also the voice of that Ultraman-looking guy for Dragon Ball Super. I can't remember what his name is. He was in the Resurrection F. So, he plays Tsukune Ono, who is 15 years old and is being shipped over or transferred to another school because he flunked his exams in his first high school. So now he's going to another one called Yokai Academy, which was found by his dad on the application on the side of the road by some weird ghostly guy. Yeah, I totally trust that. So he's going to this school, not knowing what it's about, so he gets on the bus, and he's the only one on the bus, and his cousin Kyoko calls him and says, hey, I heard you're going to Yokai Academy, I thought I'd let you know that, and then the phone goes out, because the bus is going into a tunnel, and the bus driver, I swear to God, is voiced by Chuck Huber, the voice of Android 17, and basically he's dropped off at the school, and already you can tell the atmosphere is totally Halloween horror themed. It's autumn, it's fall, which is fantastic. I love that. One thing I will say, the visuals in this show are a lot of fun to look at, a lot of great art designs on this, and the animation is beautiful in the show. So Tsukune is walking down to the woods, the folly woods, And, you know, something weird, he's hearing something weird follow him. And he looks up into the sky, and there's apparently a talking bat that looks like Hamtaro with bat wings. I don't know what drugs they were making this show. So he thinks that's it, but no, he gets run over with a motorcycle, or not a motorcycle, a bicycle, and there's a really beautiful girl with pink hair and amazing panties named Moka Akashiya, who I can't remember who voices her. I think her name is Alexis Tipton, who does a brilliant job doing the voice of Moka, that really kind of sweet, innocent girl type. And for those wondering, I prefer outer Moka over the later Moka that we'll see later. So basically, he's introduced to this girl, and she's super cute, super hot, and is pretty much taken to her charm right away. But what happens is that he ends up bleeding because, you know, bicycle accident, and she ends up sucking his blood because she is, in fact, a vampire. And the best way I can describe her sucking blood, it's the best hickey you could ever ask for. Oh, this show is so weird. So he goes to the school and he finds out it's an entire school run by, like, made exclusively for monsters. So think Monsters University if it was a sex comedy. God, I do not want to see John Goodman in that situation.
Do you see what happens, Larry, when you fuck a stranger in the ass?
I'm never going to get tired of that joke. So he ends up at the school and realizing he's the only human there, and apparently humans are not allowed or else they will instantly be sentenced to death, which is a weird thing. So, okay, I guess the idea is that monsters and humans have always hated each other, but of course Moka is in the same class, and they kind of hit it off pretty well. Their chemistry is actually really cute in this first episode. But then there's also this weird, creepy guy with a long-ass tongue. Yeah, that's not gonna go well. So, basically, they kind of hit it off, and Moka reveals that, you know, the fact that she has this rosary, that if it's removed, she will become her true form as a terrifying vampire. So, fools, this isn't even my final form. And basically, there's a great, I love kind of, some of the fan service actually does work in its favor. So if it's used for comedy, it actually gets a good chuckle out of me. So the whole time there's this thing where she's exposing her chest and showing her rosary. And as much as, you know, you're trying to pay attention to the plot, you can't help but just kind of stare at the beauty before you. So basically, Skune's kind of freaked out. He walks off, and he decides, I don't want to be at the school anymore. And then Moka's like, no, please don't leave. But then he's like, look, I'm a human. Y'all don't like me. And, you know, he pretty much shuns her out, which is a dick move, by the way, especially for a cute girl like her. So he runs off, Moka follows, and then comes across that weird, creepy guy, who turns out to be an orc. It's an orc. Yes, orcs exist. I guess for a first boss, fine, because orcs are usually foot soldiers in any kind of fantasy horror thing. But you keep expecting either Aragorn or Gandalf to show up and slay this thing. But this orc basically turns into essentially Abomination from the Incredible Hulk, and has a huge-ass tongue. He attacks Skune, he attacks Moka, she screams, cuts to Skune, cuts back to Moka, and she's covered in white stuff. Y'all think of it yourself. I don't want to get involved with that. That was just, I don't know what happened off camera, but I'm sure it wasn't pleasant. So, basically, Skune comes back to protect her, and then he gets his ass kicked, obviously, and then Moka, you know, tries to help him, but then Skune removes the Rosario, or Rosary, and she becomes her true form as a vampire. And what's really funny is when the Rosary is removed, it makes the sound effect of the Shikon jewel being shattered from Inuyasha, which I thought was kind of fun, because Japan's always known to reusing sound effects half the time for power-ups. But then it gets even weirder, because I don't know if even Thomas noticed this, but when Moka becomes her true form and her ass gets 10% bigger and her chest gets 10% bigger, they use the proton pack sound effect from Ghostbusters. Which, it's weird, because this show is, you know what, I'll be honest, this show has a real Ghostbusters vibe to it. A bit of Ghostbusters with a bit of Back to the Future in terms of tone. And I love that idea. Like, it has a very Back to the Future feel to it, and especially an 80s comedy feel to it. And honestly, like, you could do a live-action film based on this series itself, not the manga, but the series, and make it an 80s John Hughes, Steven Spielberg horror comedy. You know, you could make it like that, like The Breakfast Club, with a bit of Gremlins, with a bit of Back to the Future, and all kind of rolled into one. It's like perfect material for that. You can even shoot it like an 80s film. So I thought that was kind of clever. Anyway, so she becomes her true form as a vampire with silver hair, and she is a totally different personality. She's much more tougher, she's much more stronger, and her classic line, "Know your place," kicks your ass and sends you home nilly-willy. And her true form, she's not voiced by Alex Tipton, she's voiced by Colin Cleakenbeard. Now, Colin I've met a few times. She's super nice, which, by the way, hi, Colin. And I thought this was actually the first thing I was introduced to her. She has voiced 18 in Dragon Ball Z Kai. Now, I'm not going to get into that can of worms right now, but I prefer Meredith over Colin. No offense, but that's just me. But Colin's great at Moka, so Inner Moka. So basically, she kicks this orc's ass, and the episode ends where Skune is now stuck here for a month and has to deal with it until the next bus comes in so he can go home. And it ends with a hickey, which will be a trademark to end every episode. So the first episode, it's cute, it's clever, and it kind of sets you in the mood right away with that first shot with the panties. That's the one thing I will say about this show that is very annoying, because I know this is not made for people who want to follow a story. It's being made for people who want to watch essentially softcore hentai. And what's weird about it is that I am very invested in the story. I'm very invested in what's going on. Like, this is a great plot for a great series. Not obviously the manga itself, because the manga is extremely dark and a lot more mature, and there's a lot more that goes on. This is much more in the style of Friends, where it's a sitcom, it's a comedy. And basically, the first episode just really sets the mood, and it's a great start. I really enjoyed the chemistry between Skune and Moka. I love the villain of this piece. He's kind of a dipshit. He's like Biff, but imagine if Biff turned into an orc, so it's like a super Biff. Could somebody make fan art of that, please? Anyway, but it's basically kind of, you know, this like sort of horror comedy. There's a couple of really great visuals in this film. I swear to God, half the time, a lot of the visuals when it goes dark feels very much inspired by Castlevania. And I wouldn't be surprised if some of the people who worked on this show, animation-wise, end up working on the Castlevania Netflix series. It has that feel to it, which I really like. You know, you could pretty much set the Castlevania Netflix series and Rosario Vampire in the same universe, if you could. So, the tone's great, the music's good. There's times where the horror aspects really work, but then it has this sort of soundtrack where it's like, chitty chitty baya baya, and it becomes, when you hear that music, you're like, okay, now we're in a comedy. You know, ho ho, hijinks ensue. So, it kind of just sets everything up, and then the next few episodes that follow will be introduced to more characters, and it slowly picks up over time. If you're not one that's into a lot of fan service shots, I would not recommend this series, and I would just recommend the manga. But the anime itself is pretty solid, and I really enjoy what the Funimation dub that they did with all the actors. A lot of these actors have been veterans before and had worked on other projects, but this was my first time being introduced to a lot of these actors, and I really enjoyed their work on this. So, the first episode, I'm going to give probably a good, you know, 9 out of 10. It's pretty solid. It gets things off the ground right away. And, yeah, that's about it. Of course, I'm going to be doing the majority of these 2 episodes a week, only because there's so many months, or so many weeks from September, October, and we want to go through the Halloween season. So, I'd say stick around, guys. I might put these out early on Patreon, not 100%, but I hope you guys enjoyed what I had to say about the first episode. But of course, I want to hear from you. What are your thoughts on Rosario Vampire Episode 1? Let me know in the comment section below. And don't forget to support our Patreon. Just $1 more will get you early access to all of our content as well as other special features. So tune in next week when we take a look at 2 episodes that introduce, I believe, 2 characters to the series that will definitely become mainstays and especially extra, you know, cuddle buddies, you could say, for Skune Ano, our main antagonist. So, until the next video, guys, like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you guys later. This is BigJackFilms signing off saying, if a pink-haired girl turns out to be a vampire, it's probably going to be the best hickeys you'll ever have. Alright, later.